Okay. Doodle 1, 2, 3 in the last round of the Phantom Constructed deck. The last Phantom Constructed deck event I'm going to be able to play in. Looks like it's a Herald Mirror, so the play here is just to level your Metamorphosis to kill their Heralds, and play your own Heralds to, kill them with damage. Thundersword is really, really good in this matchup, because it's like impossible to kill outside of Metamorphosis and Dendrify. And a lot of them only play just Dendrify. Like, Metamorphosis isn't that common. Actually, I think Botanimate. I think that card's actually a little better than Metamorphosis, because even though the Seedling can attack you, or the Sapling can attack you, it has no chance of making a 9/9, and I've definitely died to the 9/9 a couple of times. Okay, so what's the play here? I could play Metamorphosis. I'm sorry. I could Dendrify this Shardbound Behemoth and play a Werewood Patriarch. I think that's actually the play. And then just block his Herald, force him to pump it. That way I kill his Tree Folk with the damage plus the 5 damage. My Herald still has 5 toughness. And I've ranked up a Dendrify, I guess. And then next turn I'm pretty much just playing Thundersword and Metamorphosis, almost regardless of what he plays. I guess it really depends, because I don't want to give him a 9/9. So I'd prefer to Metamorphosis whatever's in front of Wayward Patriarch. Let's see. What do I have? I guess what do I have leveled? I always like to keep track of what I have leveled. I think it's just like a Metamorphosis, a Herald, a Dendrify, and a Patriarch. So Thunderswords are still really good. Kind of want to tend to play those because I have a leveled Patriarch in my deck. I've already drawn the 2 Shardbound Invokers, so let's see. I guess, what does my opponent play? You could play any. There's a lot of different ways to build Herald outside of the Legion Shard, Herald, HeraldBomb, Dendrify. You can play a bunch of. You can play 0 Thunderswords. You can play a bunch of Thunderswords. You can play 0 Behemoths. You can play a bunch of Shardbound Invokers. You could play a bunch of Patriarchs. Like, you can play a bunch of one different thing to make your cards better. I've seen lists with a lot of Windspark Elementals, like 3 of them, and no, what's it called? Behemoths at all, because you want to get your Werewood Patriarchs to pump your Thunderswords and your Windsparks, so they're better. Windspark's one of those cards that's really good sometimes and really bad other times. That's why I only like 1. I would like to play this Metamorphosis, but it's just worse than Thundersword, I think. Yeah, I'd rather block with Thundersword because it kills it on my turn anyway. And the Behemoth is susceptible to things like Dendrify, or just Legion Shard. If he Legion Shards my guy, it still dies, I guess. It's probably better to block with the Behemoth there, honestly. I guess I just messed up there. I just really wanted to level Thundersword and still have an aggressive Behemoth. My opponent is only leveled 1. Herald of Destruction, I think? Maybe 2. Yeah, he has 2 Heralds leveled, so he has the same number of Heralds because I'm going to play Herald this turn. I might have to start pausing him during my opponent's turn, because he's thinking a lot. And I don't really have much to say about this deck. It kind of plays itself to an extent. It's not necessarily a brain dead deck. A lot of people think, because a lot of people just play against Herald and they're doing fine, they're winning. It's rank 3, and then their opponent's at 10 or whatever, and they're about to kill them with their next turn, and then their opponent goes Herald level 3 Firebomb, you're dead. It's well, that was 48 damage out of nowhere. This is the worst deck in existence. I hate it, right? Because they were so close to winning and then they lost. What people don't realize is that Herald is really, really inconsistent. Like, it's heavily draw dependent. You have to be able to draw your heralds and your phytobombs and your like pump spells or whatever. Its support cards like Malice Hermit and Thundersword and Behemoth pretty much just exist to give you more chances to draw Herald. Like, the cards don't actually win the game on their own. They very, very rarely win the game on their own. So I actually hate playing against Brood Queen Spiritstone Sentry decks because those decks are probably more unfair than Herald. They just don't kill you in one turn. They kill you over the course of like 8 turns. But those turns are really, really hard to interact with the deck because all their threats are recursive. And it's my turn, so I kind of lost my train of thought. But at the same time, Herald is the only thing keeping those kind of decks in check. There we go. Nailed it. Okay, so what's my play here? I can't kill his Herald, which sucks. So I can either Legion Shard my Thundersword and make it a 12-6, then it damages my guy, so it'd be actually an 18-6. But then he could just dendrify my creature. So I don't think Legion Shard is the play. I'd rather play 2 creatures, like a Thundersword in front of the Herald, and then Windspark, or a Herald in front of Windspark. That way he has to damage my creatures, and I'm still chunking him for 10 a turn with this Behemoth, which he still has to deal with. Like, and then if he plays a level 1 creature, I can kill it with Metamorphosis. He has 3 level 2 Heralds in his deck, and I only have 2, which kind of sucks. Like, that's one of the worst parts about the mirror, honestly. It usually boils down to whoever draws the most Heralds wins. And I used to play a version where I had like a bunch of Thunderswords and Ferocious Roars, so I could... That sucks. He just did 36 damage to me. I used to have a version with a lot of Thunderswords and... what are they called? Ferocious Roars? Where I would play a bunch of Thunderswords, which is a card like it's impossible to deal with in the mirror if you play like a bunch of them. And I would just play Thunderswords and play Heralds, and they'd have to deal with the Heralds, but then they couldn't deal with the Thunderswords, and vice versa. So what's my play here? I can let this Herald live for a turn. I can dendrify his level 2 Herald and play Thundersword, or I could play Metamorphosis on his Herald, attack for Thundersword. It's just what's my best play. I don't think level 2 Thundersword is better than killing one of his Heralds, because if he has another Phytobomb, this Windspark Elemental's still going to be alive, so it'll still do a bunch of damage to me. It'll do like, what, 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18 damage. Yeah, it's not... You usually want to minimize any damage you can take in this matchup. And I'm going to let the attacks happen before I kill his Herald of Destruction, so my Thundersword is a 6-6 instead of a 3-9. These Shardbound Invokers might be too late to matter, or they might be incredible. If he doesn't have anything to deal with my Herald, they're incredible. But I can't imagine what he'd play if he doesn't have like the only thing he leveled were Heralds, pretty much. Heralds and Windsparks. So I can't imagine him not having a Herald. He already played 1 level 2 Herald, but that still means he has 2 left. Even if he plays like a Behemoth in front of it, I don't think my Shardbound Invokers are powerful enough to overcome a Shardbound Behemoth. A Shard Plate Behemoth. Yeah, there we go. So what I'm likely going to do is going to have to pump this Thundersword. But I suppose you could just block that with a level 2 Herald as well. It just kind of depends on what he does. I'm tired of talking, so I'm just going to pause while he thinks about his turn. So it looked like he played a Shard Plate Behemoth and Legion Sharded his Windspark Elemental. So with that in mind, I think the play is to play just both my Shardbound Invokers. Like, I think I'd play this one here to block his Behemoth and pump itself to make it a 7-8. Then play this one to die to the Windspark, and pump the other Invoker to make it a 10-11. That way it lives, sort of. He can still Dendrify it or whatever, but you can always do that in this matchup. You can always Dendrify something. Makes it really annoying. I didn't see any Metamorphosis out of him, though. I mean, he can still Metamorphosis my Invoker, but he can't Metamorphosis my level 2 creatures, assuming I draw them. I still have 2 level 2 Heralds in my deck, and a Patriarch with only one more hand of level 2. Which kind of sucks. So if I don't draw those Heralds, I'm probably not going to win the game. And if I don't, I didn't draw them this turn, so if I draw 2 my Heralds in the next hand, am I just supposed to play them both and not play any spells? I mean, sort of. Probably not, because the spells are really good in this matchup. So I'm probably going to have to, if I draw both Heralds in the next hand, I'm probably going to have to play a Herald and a Dendrify or something like that. And so he'll have 1 creature in play. I'll have a Herald, but he'll have... And I'll only have 1 level 3 Herald in my deck. So he's a little ahead of me on the Herald matchup, especially since he has these Windspark Elementals. And he played another Legion Shard. I'm going to try to play Behemoth there. I think I let this attack me for 5. Then play Malice Hermit in front of it. And try to play Behemoth in front of this. Okay, so I drew only 1 Herald, I guess. That's sort of a blessing, because now I'm only forced to play 1 of them. So I assume what my opponent does here is play a Herald level 2 and then Dendrify my Sharkblade Behemoth. Since I haven't seen a Dendrify this rank, and I know he has 2 other Heralds in his deck. Actually, I haven't seen any Dendrifys from him. Sorry, I was just reading there's an argument on the... I got this deck list from solforgeladder.com. Well, yeah, I think Hidetsugu played it in the tournament last Sunday. But someone was arguing about how every other day it seems people are arguing about either Dejin Brood Queen being overpowered or Herald of Destruction being overpowered. And I just argued what I've been saying in this video. It's really inconsistent and keeps other more consistent unfair decks in check. But people apparently don't really want to that's correct, right? I mean, I think it is. So I finally got someone to agree with me, and it feels good. That sucks. That's a lot of damage to me. So I'm gonna have to play Herald right here. I really want to Legion Shard my Herald, but I can't afford to do that. I need to get rid of his Herald. Thankfully, that means he only has 2 level 3 Heralds, so he's just a little ahead of me, I think, in terms of Heralds, right? Because I only have 1 level 1 Herald, or level 3 Herald. If I would have drawn it there, that would have been incredible. So he has 2 level 3 Heralds and a level 2 Herald in his deck. I have 1 of each rank. I have a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. So if I draw a Legion Shard, or if I draw... Depending on what he plays here, I can Legion Shard this Herald and Metamorphosis his Herald. But if he doesn't play a Herald, I'm probably just going to play Thundersoar and probably Metamorphosis, honestly. Because the one good thing about Thundersoar, it's not as great against Brimstone Tyrant Windspark, because you can't stop that. But I actually think I like this version, the Brimstone Tyrant version, a little better. I chose not to play it because there are a lot more legendaries in it. You have to play Brimstone Tyrants and more Windsparks. But I think it's a little better overall. If he plays a HeraldBomb here, I think I'm dead. That is 48 damage. Yep. So that's unfortunate realities of the Herald of Destruction mirror. Pretty much whoever draws more Heralds wins. Though honestly, I think his deck was much better suited to the mirror because he had the Brimstone Tyrants and the Windsparks, which does more chip damage. If he wasn't playing Brimstone Tyrants, for instance, I could just fill the board with Thunder Swords, and that means he can't Phytobomb my spots because they have Thunder Swords in them. And the creatures in this deck are so small that you can't actually kill a Thunder Sword in a couple hits. So it's a continuous threat with Thunder Swords and Wayward Patriarchs. And but with Brimstone Tyrant, it doesn't really matter if Thunder Swords in the lane or not, because eventually you just play Windspark Brimstone Tyrant and wipe all the Thunder Swords and their creatures, and it hits them for a bunch of damage because Windspark Elemental does a bunch of damage. But yeah, honestly didn't really have that much fun because I don't like playing that deck, but other people do like playing that deck, and it's actually pretty cheap, so I figured I'd at least show it off a little bit, like just a smidgen. And I guess that's it. I can't play another one because I only got one event ticket there. Right? Just 2 event tickets to enter. Let's try and join another one. Oh, I don't want to use my silver, my hard-earned silver, because I've got to save that up for crafting legendaries. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'm sorry if I was a little bit frustrated in this game. I don't know. I really dislike the inconsistency of this deck. I would still recommend it if you're trying to get it constructed because it's got a really big explosive factor. Like playing Herald and then playing Phytobomb, it's actually one of the. It's so strong. It does so much damage, and since everyone's playing Spiritstone Sentry in the constructed queues right now in the standard tournaments, Herald is really good against them. The problem is, of course, like as you saw in this video, is you actually have to draw the Heralds in order to be good against the decks, because the other cards in the deck are not that great, which is fine because unlike in like Dejin, for instance, you've got the Brood Queens and the Dejin Siphon. Those are some really strong allied cards. And in Tempys Necrium Bizarric, you have synergies like Surzal and what's it called? Borean Windweaver and Spiritstone Sentry and Netherdrake. You can actually move the creatures. Like you've got a lot of strong synergies there. Uterra Tempys doesn't actually really have any cross synergies, which makes it the weakest faction pair in constructed, because it's pretty much just big creatures and damage. Like it actually has some synergy here with the Herald of Destruction, but actually almost all the synergy in this deck comes from Herald of Destruction. The synergy with damage, like the Thunder Sword plus Malice Hermit, that's only in Uterra, so you don't even need Tempest. I actually wish Stoneblade would print a few more like Umbric cards that are not just dinosaurs. Like we've got Gemhide Ravager is the 5/6 mobility card that gains you life, and Umbric Glider, I think. Those are the two Umbric cards. And they're okay. They're good draft cards, but they're hardly constructed playable like Dejin Siphon and Brood Queen. So I wish we'd get or even Distortion Strike, the Onyxium Alolan Necrium one. That one's also really, really good. It's a lot more niche, like because Alolan Necrium is a really hard faction pair to make work. But it's a really strong card. It can actually just turn the tide of combat. This faction pair doesn't actually have anything, so you're pretty much just relying on the pure power of Herald of Destruction, which I mean works some games and some games it doesn't. So you just kind of have to balance that. I'd still recommend this deck because it's really good against the current meta. But the best thing about this event, honestly, is that you can try a bunch of different decks if you've saved up tickets. I didn't save up tickets. I just saw this I saw this event come live yesterday when I had one ticket. I'm like, okay, I'll play my dailies today and then get enough tickets to play in like an event or something. And so I just like drafted this deck up because I thought it would be the cheapest in standard, and I think it actually is the cheapest in standard currently. But yeah, that's gonna be all for today. I'm done with my diatribe. Maybe next time this Phantom Destructive tournament comes up, I'll just play something a little more legendary heavy because I already displayed this deck. So if my conscience is clear, at least a smidgen, and I can play maybe some Brood Queen deck or the Oratech Explosives deck. That one's really, really fun. It's got a like crazy amount of legendaries in it, but it's a really, really fun deck. And yeah, that's all for now, guys. Thanks for dealing with me. If you actually managed to get through all my frustration and salt, thanks so much for watching.